Mindfulness is saying there are difficult times, but when you focus on them with a solutions-based approach, saying, okay, I recognize this problem, I see the challenge, and I'm going to work through it. I'm going to focus on it. I'm going to put my mind, my brain, my thoughts, my efforts, my energy onto this challenge that's right in front of me.
Welcome to your Journey to Joy podcast. I'm your host, Moyra Gorski, and I'm on a mission to help you find joy in the chaos of life. As a retired nurse, multi-passionate entrepreneur, and mom of 4 adult children, I know what it's like to feel the overwhelm of it all and wonder if and when the joy will show up again. And I've learned it's up to us to go find that joy. On this show, you will hear inspiring stories from those who have overcome all kinds of life challenges, tips on how to stay healthy and vibrant during the ups and downs of life, and simple ways on finding joy in your own life. Let's face it, life is messy, yet when we travel together on this journey, support and encourage each other along the way, that joy starts to show up again. I'm so excited to lead you on this journey of you to find the joyful life that you deserve. Well, welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Moyra Gorski. So glad you have come back to listen. We're all about joy. We're all about really helping you, again, find joy in the busyness of life. And today I'm so excited for the topic that I'm going to cover today and the guest that I've invited to be with me today and with us today, because she's going to talk about mindfulness. And we were just talking right before we came on, like it's a busy world. It's a busy life. And sometimes we can get stuck within the busyness, which perhaps is another conversation for another day, and stuck in that and going towards the busyness and avoiding other things. But the fact is, life is busy and it's chaotic. And we need to have, as what I've talked about for many years on this podcast, is we need to have tools in our tool belt so that we can get through our lives, again, healthy, happy, joyful, calm, and things like that. And mindfulness is a big tool that we can use and to really help us through, the busyness of life. So today, Tara Nylese is joining me today. I met her through LinkedIn. She's a wonderful author of a book that I was totally attracted to, Mindfulness in Everyday Life. And so we're going to have a great conversation about, again, mindfulness, what it's all about, what it means about work-life balance, if there is such a thing. And again, about this stress, about the busyness in our daily lives, but then how can we put this to practice and use it? So thank you, Tara, for joining me today. I'm so thrilled and honored that you joined me today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Moyra. I am so thrilled and happy to be here and be able to talk about mindfulness, which is something that I'm so passionate about because it works well for me. And I just want to share the good. I want to spread the good so that other people can get a taste of how it can enhance their lives and really beautify their everyday world. We're in this world and we want to make the most of it. And I've found that mindfulness is a very helpful tool in our tool belt to be able to achieve the satisfaction and fulfillment in our days.
Right. Yes, absolutely. I agree. How did you find your way to this? I often ask people, again, their story and how the story that kind of brought you to today or brought you to writing a book and that type of thing. I'd love for you to start there to share a little bit about that.
Certainly. Yeah, my story is a little bit unconventional. So I've been a scientist for my entire career. When I was a teenager, I fell in love with a certain area of science, and I've been very fortunate to have just a wonderful career in the sciences and in the corporate world. And I had been in that career for about more than 25 years. And about the last half of it, I started getting myself involved in meditation and mindfulness. I had the good fortune to be able to travel the world, spend a lot of time in areas where meditation was sort of like the mainstream in life. And I was able to bring that back into my everyday life as a scientist. And so for about 12 years, I've been a member of a really fantastic meditation group. And then more recently, I became a meditation instructor and then got a certification in applied positive psychology. And it all really goes together well with the sciences because nowadays, science and medical research is proving how effective mindfulness is for our mental and emotional health, and also for our physical health, for lowering heart disease, lowering the chances of heart disease, lowering stress hormones, for even dealing with pain. So there's just a wide host of physical and mental benefits for pursuing mindfulness.
Mhm.
And it's because of my background of a scientist, it really resonates with me because there's so much evidence that shows, okay, this is not some weird, strange thing. This is not popping a pill. This is a lifelong practice. And when you do it, then you reap the benefits, and works for me. And I found that I can lead other people to working through some tips to bring mindfulness into their lives too. And that's what led me to writing my book, because mindfulness is not just something for people who wear yoga pants and go to a yoga studio. It's for all of us. It's for everyone. And so in my book, I have different chapters for different demographics. I've got mindfulness for teenagers battling with social identity and anxiety. I've got mindfulness for seniors dealing with changes in their lives and loss of some capabilities or feelings of isolation. Mindfulness for busy moms who have a really hard time keeping it together, and mindfulness for career professionals who balance a whole lot of very challenging aspects of their lives. And how can we all do it? And that's what was the origination of my book. And I feel like that's what I accomplished in my book based on some feedback.
Yeah, that's great. I want to bring up the idea that, again, if people have been listening to the podcast, they know that I've been going through a cancer journey. I'm cancer-free now, but I was diagnosed, in October, and went through the surgery, and again, doing well now, but I've been doing a lot of reading, listening to podcasts, and there's a book that I picked up that was very highly recommended called Radical Remission. And it was somebody that interviewed so many people that had gone through a cancer journey, had, some had tried traditional medicine and then decided to do different things, and they went into these, into remission, and the cancer went away. And the cool thing was, and then she looked at like 9 commonalities amongst them. And a couple, 2 or 3 of them were like, their diet, their supplementation, maybe sleep. I can't remember. I think there was 3, but again, out of 9, the vast majority were things with the mind, and with, being around a positive community and meditating and, doing things that bring you joy, and like things that are like not the like traditional, okay, we're going to, like you said, take a pill or do something. It's more of that positive psychology. And it's fascinating. I mean, these stories that are in this book, I mean, there's no denying that they went into remission and there was no more cancer, and they weren't doing the traditional things. And that's what I find extremely exciting. And that's why I want to do and keep, spreading the word, because people, I hope they can hear this and take it in and then make some changes, because we do have the power. It's not woo-woo, weird stuff that you have to wear a robe and like, no, sandals, Jesus sandals, or whatever people call it, and that we can do it every day.
Right.
Whoever we are, we can do these things that make a huge change in just the way we feel, but also the way we live our life, in our longevity, how long we live, and that quality of life that we can live. So
yeah, I completely love that you say that. And I remember once reading an article that said that people who really feel like they have ownership of their cancer treatments, who feel like they are part of the treatment, rather than people who feel like the treatment is being done to them. So it's the people who take the ownership who end up having the most success. And that's because our beliefs, our body, our mind is behind the treatment being successful. We're invested in it. And it's amazing to me that has the scientifically proven better outcome. It's wonderful to hear you say that. And I'm so glad that your journey is in the right direction and that you're leading other people in that direction as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there is a book also called Radical Ownership. Same thing. She wrote it, but she wrote it about herself, that she had to take radical ownership of her life and what she saw was the cause of things, and take that ownership. And that's what she does. She is cancer-free. She's so inspiring, and she's inspiring other people to do the same thing, because we have to own up to, again, that's I've talked about that a lot. I'll continue to talk about it, but we have to own up to again, our lives and our choices and things,
Yeah.
like that, because at the end of the day, that's what we got. So
Exactly. It's our life. Yeah, it's our life.
Yeah.
And the beauty is that we have the ability to make the decisions where it goes. When we really put our minds to it and our hearts into it, we can make our decisions in the direction of the path. Sometimes there are really difficult challenges. Life is not always easy, but it's the decision to say, I'm going to overcome these challenges. I'm going to keep moving ahead. I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to put my mind into a successful outcome mode. And then, you define success.
Right. Yeah. So we talk about mindfulness. So let's just start there. Like, what's the definition of mindfulness? Because people can be like, I don't really know even what that means, but I think it's good to just start as a good definition of what mindfulness is.
Sure. Yeah, that's exactly right. Because really people still don't completely know what mindfulness is. And it's a great place to start. So we've all heard the phrase, let's stop and smell the roses, right? This is something that's maybe our grandmothers told us to do this. And we kind of have a concept of how to do this, but that's really what mindfulness is. It's stopping what we're doing and just focusing on what's in front of us right here and right now. So if we're going for a walk and we see beautiful flowers, let's stop and smell them. Or we could keep walking and smell the flowers and notice them, and then really bring that into our body and say, I smell the flowers. I'm in this moment now. This is how my body feels when I smell the flowers. I'm enjoying this. I'm present. I'm focused on what I'm doing. Now, I've been walking the dog lately. It's springtime and the flowers have been out in full bloom. They smell wonderful and it really enhances my walk with the dog. What it also does is it keeps me present in the moment. I could really recall those moments of walking with the dog. There are, unfortunately, some times where my brain is elsewhere, where if something is really on my mind or stressing me out, I could be walking the dog, but I don't even know what I'm doing. I may as well be sitting at my desk worrying about work because my mind is not in it when I'm walking the dog. And it's those times where I remind myself to, okay, stop and focus on what I'm doing now. And really, the reason is because when we're present in what we're doing, we're more fully engaged in what we're doing. And that helps us with the quality of our relationships. So if you want to be closer to your spouse, your partner, your family, your daughter, whatever, you should be more engaged with them, more focused on the moment with them, rather than thinking about what to make for dinner. Spend the time engaging with your partner, or listen to what your daughter is saying, and put down your phone for a minute. And that's going to deepen that relationship. It also forms better bonds. At the same time, it also reduces our stress hormones because we're actually not multitasking and our brains are being more single processed. And so our body more naturally comes to a lower stress state. You could sort of feel yourself relaxing when you're present in the moment. There's also difficult times too. So mindfulness is not saying that there's not difficult times. Mindfulness is saying there are difficult times, but when you focus on them with a solutions-based approach, saying, okay, I recognize this problem, I see the challenge, and I'm going to work through it. I'm going to focus on it. I'm going to put my mind, my brain, my thoughts, my efforts, my energy onto this challenge that's right in front of me. It's not saying, nope, I'm going to run away. It's saying, I see it. Let's get through it. Let's work on it. And that brings you to an outcome that's more desirable, that you're more invested in, rather than running away from it, which is just going to follow you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Because again, we can talk about let's go walk the dog and that's great. And today it's raining. Well, it's actually kind of snowing a little bit. So what the heck? It's April. But so I don't think I'll be walking the dog today unless it's later on. But, that sounds like, oh, that's really pretty. But, there's also those times, that you're in the midst of the difficult thing. And I took a course through several years ago, kind of during the pandemic, mindfulness-based stress reduction. And it's so good. And I love, that was such a big thing that it's the noticing piece. It's slowing down to notice, because when we can notice, then we can make our decisions. If we're not even noticing what's going on or why they might have, or how we're feeling or whatever, we can be so reactionary to what's going on and say, like you said, before we went on, like we're taking a breath, we're just realizing, and then before we speak, before we react, we're noticing things, we're being aware, and then we can, again, make better decisions, better choices to either say something or maybe not say anything at all in that difficult situation. But I love that noticing, that awareness piece, slowing down enough to just stop and look around and focus. It's a very powerful position that we
Right.
can put ourselves in when we stop.
Yeah, exactly. And another aspect of it is when we're able to quiet the mind. So when we're not thinking about this and that and that and that, when we're only thinking about what's in front of us, then our mind is quieter. And we're able to hear and pick up on these whispers of insights that our mind or our body is trying to tell us. And so that's when a lot of the good realizations happen, whether you're trying to solve a problem at work that you haven't been able to figure out because your life has been hectic. But when you're able to slow down, suddenly that moment comes to you, that solution comes to you. Or if we're working on something in our personal lives, just trying to get through, how could I work with this person? I'm not seeing eye to eye with them, or whatever it might be. It's when we really relax our emotions, when we calm our minds, that we're going to be able to come to these aha moments, that we're going to be able to hear these whispers of insights just because we finally quieted all the chatter around us. And I just think that's a lovely aspect of mindfulness. It's slowing down enough to say our minds, our bodies are trying to tell us something that we know inside, but we can't hear. Now, when we slow down, we can hear them. And that's really rewarding.
Yeah. Well, and when you think about it, people get ideas when they're in the shower. I think it's that
Right.
very reason, because we're in the shower and we're not thinking about anything else except for like washing our hair and like getting ourselves clean. And so we've quieted that other distraction, and all the time, again, like you said, the ideas will come. To us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Love
Yeah. Yeah. But then again, life gets in the way. We have stress in our daily lives. Like, again, I don't think that we can avoid that, right? We're going to have stressful situations, be it work, family, personal things like that. But let's talk a little bit about that. Again, we can't avoid that, but that definitely has an impact on, I know that had an impact on my health and this cancer development, because I was I was the healthy person that decided 25 years ago I was going to get on this health journey and live a healthy life. And so I was like shocked, just along with everybody else, like, what? But I also know the amount of stress that I was under during the struggles of our daughter, not knowing if she would live, and in and out of treatment and all that. But, the stress of like something like that, that makes you cringe when I mention things like that. But it's also the stress of that busyness. Like, I have 4 children, they were all busy. The boys were busy with hockey, and it was busy with swimming and, all this kind of stuff, and band. And then I had an entrepreneur, and my business was building and thriving. And like, again, I was at home, but like, it was just all this stuff. And so that's stress.
Yes.
And it's good because, I built this great business and I have successful kids, but it was stress,
Exactly. Yeah. Stress is a part of our lives, whether we like it or not. It's there. It's something that's always going to be there. And so it really depends on our reaction to it and how we manage stress. So it doesn't have to be a bad thing. All we need to do is change our perception of it and change how we manage it. So as a scientist, I love to quote things I've read in journal articles or scientific literature. And I was reading something from the American Institute of Stress, and they cited that over 50% of Americans are stressed in everyday life. So I think it was 55% of Americans say that they're stressed every day. And even more concerning is that over 90% of people say that they're stressed at work. 90% of people are stressed at work. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't love your job or you don't want to be there. It's just that you're dealing with stress in the workplace. And so that creates a really challenging scenario. So it's there. Stress is there. What we have at our disposal in our tool belt is how to manage stress. And so this is the important aspect of it. We don't want to run away from it. We want to acknowledge it head on. So a few other kind of tidbits about why stress is so important. The NIH actually says that stress is the number one workplace health issue. So at work, stress is infiltrating everybody's life, and it costs employers billions of dollars a year. I think it's something like $225 billion a year, which is just astronomical. It's truly a problem. And then on the flip side, for our health, scientists and medical research show that stress has some root in about 90% of diseases. And that's awful diseases like heart disease and cancer, but it also is in contagious diseases. And because when we're stressed, our immune system is lower. And so we're not able to fight off infection like we might normally do if we don't have such a mental burden. So now what to do? What can we do about stress? The good news is when we change our perception of stress and say, okay, this stress is helping me get through to an important deadline. I have this deadline, and so I need to reach it. Or even now, I'm here talking, I could feel my heart rate's a little bit higher, and it feel a little bit pressure on me. So what I'm doing is just saying, okay, that's good, because that little boost of adrenaline or stress hormone is actually going to help me think a little bit quicker. I'm going to be able to maybe articulate a little bit better and communicate with you a little bit more. And it's only because I'm changing my perception of stress that I'm able to use it to my benefit. If I were to say, oh my gosh, I'm nervous, I'm not sure I could speak, then probably my body would start shutting down and responding the way that I'm telling it to respond. So when we say, okay, the stress is going to help me get through this deadline, finish this project, get through maybe a physical exercise that I'm doing, or if I step into the street and there's a truck barreling down, I need the stress to help me get out of the way and save myself. So there's times where stress is welcomed and useful. It's the chronic stress or longer term stress that we really want to get into balance. And that's something where we could start thinking about how work-life balance comes into play into managing stress at work.
Brought to you by Gorski Wellness and the possibility of a better you. Are you feeling sluggish? Ready for a change? Need more energy? Up for a bigger challenge? I'm Moyra Gorski, retired nurse and wellness advocate. For over 22 years, I've been helping people live healthier lives while making small changes each and every day. Those small changes lead my clients to living a healthier lifestyle with markedly better health. As a brand ambassador for the Shaklee Corporation, the most clinically proven wellness company in the world, I guide my clients to make healthier choices each day with their food, supplements, skincare, workouts, and mindset. They say getting started is half the battle. Let's make healthy happen together. If you're ready for simple, natural, sustainable solutions to feeling and looking your best, let's connect. You'll find a link in the show notes or reach out to me at moyragorski.com. Here's to a better you.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about, again, you gave the example of being on this podcast and, staying present and all that. Like, for instance, and again, I don't think you know this about me, but others do on this podcast, but one of my side hobbies is ballroom dance. And so I'm going to be in a ballroom dance competition on Friday. And so there is, what I continue to work on, because I remember I was talking with one of the owners of the studio, and there was a coach in, and we were just talking about leading up to this and the training I've been doing and the practicing and the days that I get we had kind of a practice thing at the studio, like a dance party, but it's kind of a way for us who are going to go compete, have a little practice run, if you will. And I was good until the last, then I did the solo, and it just got totally in my head, and I was nervous. And she said, I'm going to, and so we did a little coaching session, after that. And it's, for me, it's like I'm reflecting back to when I first started and I did my first competition and how my mindset was not good. I remembered I was looking at all of the mistakes I was making and things like that. And even my partner and my coach at that time, and even his wife who was there, they were like, what? like, stop. What are you doing? Look at what you just did. You just started to dance and you're 8 months into your journey and you just competed and you got a few ribbons and that against these women that have been dancing for 7 years and like all of that stuff. And so what, you made mistakes. We all make mistakes. It was a big lesson in mindset, but Paulina was also telling me this time, like, let's look back on where you came from. And that's helping me too today, because I know that Friday, I mean, it's my, I've been dancing with this current partner for a couple of years now. And so we're connected. We've come a long ways as a couple, if you will. I mean, he's 28 years old and he's an awesome, Polish guy. But it's that I like the fact that it's stress. What helps me is like that I'm choosing to be there. And I think, again, these can be some lessons that people can think of, like that I chose to spend the money, to put the dress on, to do all of the sparkly hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff. I'm choosing to be there. And it does give me some stress, but I chose it. And I like it because I'm a competitive person. So I want to go and see how much I improved from last time. But it was a realization to me as I was looking like a few competitions past going, it's not about like getting to the end game and like, I'm the best, right? I won the big prize. It's just how much better did I do than last time? And like trying to remember. And sometimes, again, that little bit of stress, if I can sit in the positiveness of that and say, hey, it's just keeping me more aware of like remembering the muscle memory and that, like, all that, and then just relaxing enough to just have fun. Like those are all mindset things that I've learned along the way that, again, like you said, it's that stress. Stress is good. We can use that to, again, bring our awareness, to bring our focus and things like that. But just also just sharing this because it's my experience, like just staying present there and like I chose to be here. So I can either make it like what the heck? Or I can be like, I chose to be here and we're just going to go have fun today. And I bet I'm going to get a couple of, of those medals and I'm going to do really good because I'm awesome, but
I love
staying present to that and just being there. I just know that's, again, it's been a big journey, yes, for learning the dance for me, but it's been a bigger journey with that mindset piece of it too.
Yeah, exactly. What you just described there is really getting into the flow. And that's such an important part of our lives is when we're finding things that we enjoy doing, we get into that flow where time passes just seamlessly, where we're enjoying the moment, moving with it. We're using those extra adrenaline hormones in our body and really running with it and saying, okay, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. This is where I choose to be. And this is how I'm enjoying it. And those are really the best moments in life. And those are, I remember learning in positive psychology about being in the flow actually brings us to the greatest achievements that we make in our lives, in our work that we do. But also it is an important balance of our physical body too, is when we're in that flow, then our body is naturally relaxed because we're not forcing ourselves. We're not pushing ourselves through. We're doing it because we're using that muscle memory and we're doing it, and our brain is fully involved in what we're doing at the time. I love how you described that. And I wish you luck on Friday. I can't wait to see how you do.
Yeah. It'll be great fun. But people talk about like work-life balance, like that's a myth, like that can't happen. But I feel like, again, I was just talking with a girlfriend this morning when we were working out and like the idea of boundaries came up. And I feel like that's a big part of when we're talking about a balance or harmony or whatever, like is knowing enough about what a boundary looks like. And I wonder if you could talk, speak to that of just being able to set boundaries or knowing what boundaries and being okay, I think, with setting them.
Yeah, perfect. I would absolutely love to. My book actually hit number 2 bestseller in work-life balance on Amazon. So that was a really pleasant surprise when that happened. And so, it is such an important aspect of our lives and it is achievable. We can get there. We can do it. And the first part of it is acknowledging that stress exists, that it's there. It doesn't have to be a problem. We have the ability to work with it. And then, so the first one is acknowledging it and being present enough to recognize that it's happening. And then the second is saying, okay, how do we work with it? And like, when you're done dancing, probably what happens is you take a big sigh of relief, and then that's your body's way of saying, okay, this energy served its purpose. Now I'm releasing it. I'm letting it go. And same thing if we were in the crosswalk with the truck barreling down. As soon as we jump back onto the curb and we're in a safe place, we're going to feel jittery for a few moments. But what we want to do is make sure our bodies return to the homeostasis, the balance. The parasympathetic nervous system, kicks into balance, that stress, fight or flight response. And same thing at work. We want to recognize when we're in a stressful situation, okay, that's fine. Let's just not bring it home with us. Let's make sure that it's not infiltrating every moment of our life. And I'll share a story from a bunch of years ago when I was really at the height of my career in global travel and in the corporate world. I was having some challenge over something. I don't even remember what it is now. But in the evening, I went out with my daughter to one of our favorite restaurants. We were grabbing salads and sandwiches. And I remember her, she was probably 8 or 9 at the time. I remember her talking about something probably from school that day. And my mind wasn't there. I wasn't focused on what she was saying. And I feel terrible even just saying that now. But at the time, my mind was focused on what seemed like a super important work problem at the time. And I was not listening to my daughter. And looking back on it, I regret it. But there was a moment when she was talking and then she and I made eye contact. And I saw in her eyes that she knew I wasn't there, that she knew I wasn't paying attention. And it actually breaks my heart. And it broke my heart then because this little girl recognized that her mom wasn't there. Her mom's body was there, but her mind was elsewhere. And it really serves to me as a reminder of saying, okay, how do we make work and life happen? And the answer to that is focusing on where we are at the time. That's mindfulness, focusing on the present. When we're at work, let's solve those problems. Let's dedicate our effort and energy, brain power to solving those problems. When we're at home, let's focus on our kids, our partners, our personal lives. That's that boundary. That's a healthy boundary to say, I'm leaving work at work and I'm coming home and I'm enjoying my life. I'm being mindful. I'm deepening my engagement with my family, with my loved ones, in my relationships, in my own pleasure, my own internal peace of mind. It's serving me by disconnecting and keeping that boundary of work being at work. And I think also another big part of it is saying, it's that healthy boundary and saying, recognizing that it exists, but also respecting ourselves enough to say, my peace of mind is important. And I know that when I refresh myself, then when I go back to work and focus on the problem, I'm going to be more energized to be more productive on it. And that also leads me to talk a little bit about lack of engagement in the workforce. So there are times where when we're not doing that work-life balance, we're not engaged in our jobs. We're not getting in the flow in our jobs. And that's also a problem. If we're not loving what we do, or if we're not finding a way to focus on the things that we love to do at work, then we're not engaged. And that's this trend of quiet quitting that we've heard since the pandemic, that people are at work, but their mind and hearts are not in it. And the lack of engagement causes real problems for the workplace. And so Gallup Inc. did a poll a few years ago about work-life engagement or engagement at work. And they found their findings include things like when an employer has a highly engaged workforce, they are much more productive, something like 17% more productive. There's 50% less turnover. So people stay in their jobs when they're engaged in their jobs. There's less safety issues in their jobs, but also things like external factors, like there's 10% higher customer satisfaction when people are engaged in their jobs. It means I like what I'm doing. I'm in the flow. I'm talking to you. I'm enjoying hearing what you're saying. And you're receiving it well because my heart is sharing with you because I'm truly engaged in it. And then for employers, most importantly, I think there's something like even more than 15% better profitability with a highly engaged workforce. So it's great for the bottom line too. We're more productive, creative, engaged, serving our customers better, lowering absenteeism, doing all the right things to get us to an even better bottom line. So let's make sure as employers that we're really taking care of our employees to make sure that they're engaged while they are at work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think it can be, again, we can be more mindful when we're at work, but it's also, I'm glad you mentioned that, it can be if you're noticing, if you have employees that work for you, like it's making sure that they're happy, that you're listening to them, like how are things going, and being engaged with them and feeling like they're seen and recognized and noticed and that their needs are being met, then they're going to be happier and more engaged and, glad to be there and glad to do the work. And that's definitely a disrupted area because of this whole, work from home or hybrid type of schedule. So I believe that's got to be a bit of a nightmare for these management and leaders and things like that to try to figure out how to navigate. Like everybody's not doing the same thing anymore, right? I've heard that these people can do a hybrid. I'm in the, I'm here more often or whatever whatever it is. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's finding that really balance between keeping employees at work happy and keeping people in their personal lives happy and being able to do each of those, even with different ways of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we've talked about some, again, ways that we can practice mindfulness. And as we kind of look at wrapping this up today, are there other things that we haven't mentioned today that would be good for, again, how to practice mindfulness? If it is, again, I love that. Just noticing where you are, taking that deep breath, pausing a little bit, and again, setting the boundaries, closing the door, those type of things, going outside. What are some other ways that we can practice, this mindfulness in the daily life?
Yeah. The most important thing is find a practice that's unique to you, individual to you, and something that you enjoy doing. So everybody's different. So one recipe won't work for everybody. The important thing is to find a routine that works for you. And from all of the tools that we have available, everybody can find something. So a couple of the most common ones are really just taking those small moments to focus on the moment. And so I started my mindfulness calendars a few months ago, and I am super happy that I'm just about to hit 100,000 people who have seen the calendars just in the last couple of months. So that's really exciting for me. And really what they are just daily tips. Do something each day, kind of have that as your intention each day. Today is, I think, acknowledge the support of friends and loved ones. So anybody who's helped you, just, send a text to somebody different today, acknowledging their support of you. And that's going to deepen your relationship. You'll take that moment. So another aspect is that it can be done, mindfulness can be practiced pretty quickly. And many scientific, medical, and even business journals talk about how 10 minutes a day on mindfulness will improve your physical health. It'll also improve your decision-making, performance at work. And that was the inspiration for my program, which is 10 Minute Mindfulness. So I encourage everybody to find 10 minutes each day to find a routine that works for them. And that could be just putting your earbuds in for 10 minutes and listening to relaxing music before you start your day in the morning and just focus on what you'd like to accomplish that day. I also do guided mindfulness sessions, there's all sorts of different types. There's some for clearing the mind. There's some for getting you motivated. There's some for helping you sleep or fall back to sleep if you wake up in the middle of the night. So those are 10-minute sessions that you just listen to and follow through the practice. I usually guide you through different areas of the body, noticing wherever you might feel muscle tightness or tension, release it and move along. That's part of the mindfulness-based stress reduction body scan, which is a time-honored and proven technique. So we do those in 10 minutes a day. Now, there's also journaling. You could write down three things that you're grateful for every day. And scientific studies show that that helps us open our eyes to the good things around us, and it deepens our enjoyment of the world around us. You can engage in active listening. So if you have a partner and you're really wanting to show them that you care, you could just listen to them and ask probing questions and practice this active listening instead of always trying to feel like you need to get your 2 cents in. So a variety of different ways of doing it. You could attend live events. You could have a mindfulness coach. In my book, I have short chapters on various practices. And then I also have a page or two at the end, which walks you through a practice so you can read the practice and absorb it intellectually. And then I have the links to the recording of that exact same practice so you could listen to the practice if that's better for you. So some people like to read and learn. Other people like to listen and learn. Whatever works for you, that's the important thing. Find something that you enjoy that works. If it's not working, tweak it a little bit and then try something a little bit different. But just 10 minutes a day and you'll be able to strengthen your mental muscle.
Yeah, it's good. And it's such a good reminder that it doesn't have to be this long, drawn out. I think that's what gets people from not starting in the first place. Like, oh, I don't have the time. Well, can you find 10 minutes? I mean, even before I jumped in the shower today, I sat up on my bed for 10 minutes and 12 minutes. I listened to a meditation. I love Insight Timer. That's like my favorite, meditation app. And I find different ones. And it was about, breathing and again, being present and things like that. Again, I'm a big journaler. I created a journal for that very reason, because journaling became a big part of how I process things, how I like what you said, like opens your mind up to just other thoughts. And I've told people that journaling it's kind of like free therapy. Like sit there and just start to if you're feeling anxious or whatever, say you're feeling anxious, just bring out a piece of paper, a notebook, whatever. It doesn't have to have a fancy journal. And just say, ask yourself the question, what am I so anxious about? And just start to write. And it's unbelievable. I mean, people have fancy things like, let's do morning papers. Let's do 12 minutes here or 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Just open some paper and start writing. Like, what am I feeling so? And it's, again, your thoughts come spilling out, out of your head. And then you can really, I love journaling because even a couple of days ago, I was like, in the morning, I was like, wow, didn't think about this, but I had listened to a little, which again, I want to bring this up just because a gal that I love on Insight Timer, and I follow her, and she was doing some videos, and she's been challenged herself to sit out under a tree for an hour a day for 30 days.
Wow.
I mean, think about that. Now she lives in, I'm not sure where she lives, but it looks beautiful. And so, and she has the time and she has but she's been sharing along that journey, like just that idea of slowing and sitting. She just sits for an hour a day underneath the tree, and what she hears and what she, is getting and stuff like that. And so I got some real cool inspiration from her, and I came home and I started to journal. It's just again, I love these conversations. And like I said in the beginning, it's good for me because it's a reminder, because I keep doing this. I keep promoting it, and I'm not perfect. I don't have every day that I'm doing the 10 minutes or the 30 minutes or the journaling, whatever, but it's the reminder. And I hope people hear that. It's the reminder to just, if you're not doing it, start. And if you have gotten away from it, just start again. And you can just do it for 10 minutes, and 10 minutes can make a vast change and an impact in your life to just take that time.
Yeah, it really is true. It's just a couple of minutes, and you really feel good when you're doing it. And I think that's a key point, is you have to make sure you feel good about doing it. So the other day I was creating a few videos I have an upcoming 10-day, 10-minute mindfulness challenge. And so I was creating several videos, and there was one day I was like, I'm just not feeling it. So I didn't force myself into it because I knew the quality wouldn't be good, and I don't want to do that to my community. So I waited for the next day, and I was feeling really ready to go. And I'll tell you, once I started, I did one video after another so I did several 10-minute videos just because once I did one, it made me feel so good that I couldn't stop. I had to keep going.
Right.
I did several after each other. And that's what I encourage everybody to try is find that whatever it is that works for you. And my 10-minute mindfulness challenge might be a good way for some people to start, because I've got guided video sessions, I've got just audio sessions, and then I also have some reading and journaling exercises for some of the days too. So that's another way to encourage people to start. If you haven't started any mindfulness practice yet, but you're looking to start, then doing it in a structured way with somebody keeping you going is, I think, a really fantastic way of doing it.
It is really good. And so I'm sure you'll share the links with me. Is that something that's on your website that will be available on your website?
Yes, it will be. I've got a big event coming up in about a week and a half. And at that event, I'll be launching the 10-day program. And so that'll be available, I'm sure, for your audience too by the time we post. So yeah, absolutely. Right. I encourage anybody to jump on. I'd love to have you join. Yes,
absolutely. And your website, tell the audience what your website is.
Yes, my website is www.10minutemindfulness. That's TEN minute mindfulness. And that's a long word, but once you get it in, once you start going, I think you'll find a lot of goodies to share. So if you just subscribe, you'll get the monthly newsletters and the calendars. And if you become a member, then you'll gain access to all of the guided audio sessions, the video sessions, the sleep suite, which will help you go to sleep or stay asleep, and a few other motivational things like mindful eating and other challenges.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. I'll put that in the show notes too, but thank you for that. And thank you for sharing this. Again, it's such a great reminder for me and for everybody that's listening. Again, the powerfulness, if you will, of mindfulness, because it's just so important. And I'll leave you with this, a friend coach I'm in this year-long kind of modern entrepreneur coaching incubator, if you will, program. And one of the gals who was doing a session with us recently and talking about the Enneagram and things like that. And she said, and I was asking questions about like things that I wanted to change and all this kind of stuff. And she goes, what's important for you? She said, for who you are, for the number you are and all that, is pay attention to what you put in your mouth, pay attention to how much sleep you're getting, and just get out and move and walk. And it seems so simple, but for me, and again, I want people to hear that, because sometimes we're so pushing but that walking, it's so important for me, because same thing, like I'll start to create something. I want to create something. I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. I'll go for a walk and I get it all figured out within 30 minutes of walking around the park. I have it all figured out, because that works for me to be mindful. I put the phone down, I leave it at home, I grab my dog and we go for a walk. And so that mindfulness practice opens up my mind and it helps me create. So we can be I could be so stuck on, but maybe other people can relate to, like stuck on, it's got to be this way. And I got to figure it out. And I got to get it done right now this way. Sometimes we just have to take ourselves away. It can be 10 minutes of mindfulness, walking, sitting, breathing, whatever it is. It can be such a wonderful tool. So I really appreciate you sharing all of this knowledge with my audience today.
Of course, you're such an inspirational role model for healthy living, mind, body, spirit, everything. And your audience is so very lucky to have you. You really are doing amazing things. And I loved being a part of it today. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. And again, I think I just know we teach what we learn. And that's what I've learned over the last many years. Like the things that we go through, if we can share that with others, we can help other people. So I appreciate you saying that to me. I appreciate you being on here, Tara. And again, everything will be in the show notes of how you can get in touch with Tara. And again, take some time, takes 10 minutes today that you're listening to this, make that commitment so that you can find some mindfulness and find that balance and harmony and more joy in your life that we all deserve. So thanks, wonderful. Tara, and thanks, audience. And we'll talk to you next time.
Hey there, ready to live a more joyful life? Considering connecting with someone who can help you? If so, I'd like to be that person. I offer a free consultation where we determine where the chaos is in your life and how you can learn to bring more joy each and every day. Visit my website, MoyraGorski.com, or simply email me, Moyra@moyragorski.com with more joy in the subject line. I look forward to connecting, and I'm here to say there will always be some chaos, which requires a little juggling, but you can find joy and live your life intentionally filled with that joy. Let me help you on your journey to joy, and that's joy, the journey of you.